Welcome back to episode, I don't know, it's season 3, episode like 9 or 10. It's probably 9 of the podcast.
No idea.
My name is Maximilian Greatshell. This is the Special Features Podcast. This is my father, Walter Greatshell.
Hello.
We're both great shells. Last episode of the podcast, we discussed movies that took place in the winter setting.
That's right.
The setting of winter.
There was 3 feet of snow on the ground. Now there's no snow.
Yeah, since then, tropical heat wave and rains has hit Rhode Island, and all the snow has melted. So
that's right.
We no longer have anything interesting going on in our lives.
It's sadly true.
I did buy 3 pairs of coveralls, though, and I'm wearing one for the podcast. Isn't this beautiful?
Fancy.
I look like a plumber now.
That's good. It works.
It's because I got into the grocery industry, so I get bathed in raw meat juice daily.
Beautiful.
Gotta keep clean. Anyway, on this episode of the podcast, we're going to be discussing a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts as hardcore, Catholics. No, I'm just. we're not religious, but we're going to be discussing movies that have religious themes. Because as we've said many times, it's possible to make a good movie based on anything.
Yeah.
Like for example, you can make good movies about sports.
That's right.
Even though sports themselves aren't always enormously entertaining.
Yeah, I don't like sports, but I like some sports movies.
Yes.
Which is
Which is not to say that, people that like sports don't have valid opinions as well.
No.
If you grew up loving sports, that's my point is these are movies that are accessible to anyone whether or not they like sports.
Yes.
And these movies that we're about to talk about today are accessible to anyone whether or not they'll care about religion.
That's right.
Or
at least they're accessible to us. I don't know about other people.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I obviously, if you're somebody who's, I guess it depends on how conservative your beliefs are. Obviously, if you're like really conservatively religious in some faith and you see a movie that has commentary on your religious beliefs, it might offend you.
I guess. I mean, here's the thing. I have no idea what other people think.
Okay, but do you get what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, like these are movies that I think if you like good movies, you might be interested in.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know how people who are super religious would view some of these movies.
Exactly. Well, that's always been the conundrum that I've wondered about is a religious movie that's a good movie equally appealing to somebody who's religious and as it is to someone. I'm not religious, but I really love some religious movies. And does that mean that those movies might not appeal to people who actually believe in those religions? I think in some cases that's probably true.
Well, also we have to go into the fact that like a lot of the best religious movies are not made by people who are like openly following those religions.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm a little worried. His jacket is very crispy.
Okay.
So I'm a little worried about the microphone on your jacket.
I just think we need to not worry about the technical. Like oftentimes we're in the middle of a wonderful conversation.
See, now you're derailing the conversation more.
I'm derailing it because I don't want to have it derailed as we go.
Yeah, but I'm the one who edits through these, and I know that having like your crispy windbreaker sometimes fucks with the sound.
Okay. But if you want to fix it. But let's not let's not worry about talking about it.
I'm so worried about it. I'm really anxious right now, and it's bothering me that you're not.
I just don't know what to do about it.
Moving forward, I didn't want to have a long conversation about that.
I'm leaving.
Seriously.
No, it's okay.
Get out of here. No, what I was saying is that like some of these movies are not inherently made by people who are like figureheads of the religions that are discussed.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
If
but
they
there
were,
are movies made with money from religious interests, and those movies are like super different.
Yes,
because these are like auteur movies,
right?
Whereas like, and this is how we can branch into one of the movies we weren't even sure we wanted to talk about, which is like the movie Battlefield Earth, which was funded by Scientology interests.
Right.
And for that reason is a very different movie than the kind of other kinds of movies we're going to be discussing today.
Right, but I think it applies equally well to. There's a lot of supposedly Christian films that are made by Christian organizations, and usually, to me, those movies are unwatchable. They're terrible.
What about like Christian children's entertainment like VeggieTales?
Yeah, I can't stand that stuff. But I mean, I'm not a child, Christian or otherwise.
Yeah.
But when I was a child, I would not have liked that stuff. Although I did like Davy and Goliath when I was a kid,
and
that
liked
was
the little drummer boy.
Yeah, me too. But I don't think. But I don't.
The story of Jesus.
Yeah, but I don't think the Little Drummer Boy was made as a Christian film. It was made by Rankin Bass. You know what I mean? Whereas the Davy and Goliath show was made by a Lutheran organization.
Okay. Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's actually a whole realm though of religious entertainment I didn't even think about, like, because there are things that are religious parables that I saw when I was young, like The Little Drummer Boy, that had like a religious swing to them, but weren't necessarily like religious interested. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, all the Christmas movies.
That
yeah, I mean, there were so many Christmas movies that were kind of religious. I mean, even, whatever, the Grinch Stole Christmas or whatever. I mean, even that has sort of a Christian theme and whatnot. But
does it?
Well, I mean,
it has like a being a good person theme.
Yes, but I think the message of anti-materialism is
Christian.
Is sort of a Christian idea. I mean, I don't know.
I mean. Yeah, to some extent. I mean, there is that whole thing with like the monks, giving up all their worldly possessions and shaving their heads. But isn't that that's like a Catholic thing, isn't it?
I don't know. It's Christian. Catholic is Christian.
Whatever.
Yeah.
My point is, I don't have a point.
Yeah. No, but I'm just suggesting that I think there's a wide gulf between movies that are made as religious propaganda by religious organizations, which are inherently tend to be pretty terrible.
Yeah, and artistic projects that are made by people who aren't necessarily making them just because of religion.
Exactly.
Who are making them because of personal interest.
Right. Exactly.
So it's the difference between somebody who's making something out of their heart that they believe will make people better people and better religious people, versus somebody who's out of the evil of their selfishness making something that they're personally interested in for personal interest and gain. I'm joking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the first example that springs to mind of the two kinds of film is there's the movie The Rapture, directed by Michael Tolkien, which is a great movie. I love that movie. And it's about the rapture, but it's a great movie. It's not a religious, propaganda.
Yeah.
But
it's definitely not religious propaganda. That movie would be probably offensive to some religious people.
Yes. But the same subject matter is covered by the film, those Left Behind films, which to me are unwatchable. They're terrible films, but that's just because I'm not religious.
What are the Left Behind films?
They're about the rapture.
Okay.
But they're not good movies,
Yeah. Well, also there's all like those Lifetime original Christian movies that are like God is not dead and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, let's not even get into those, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and so there's a big difference between something that's made by, to me, artists and stuff that's made by propagandists.
Yes, absolutely. The Rapture is a great movie, though.
Yeah,
I mean, just from like an objective standpoint, like if you're somebody who is not like very conservatively religious, but honestly, even if you are, like I kind of feel like it depends on what kind of person you are more than whether or not you're religious.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could be somebody who's religious and watch The Rapture and get a lot from it, like just from an intellectual standpoint.
You could, although I think the movie has certain things that would be inherently offensive to standard what we think of as people who are religious, which is there's nudity in it, which would be offensive to some people.
I'm just saying,
I'm
obviously
saying?
the themes in the movie are going to guaranteed be offensive to certain people.
Yeah.
If you have like, I don't know, like an elderly woman who's like staunchly Catholic and has been going to church like twice a week for her entire life and like, is very conservative, she's probably not going to like The Rapture.
Right, but I think she might object to because when you're thinking about people who believe in the rapture, it's not usually elderly Catholics, it's usually young, evangelicals.
Yeah.
know.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I'm not even talking about necessarily the rapture itself. I'm just talking about like the themes the movie brings up.
Yeah.
And the themes that the movie brings up is a lot of what I think a lot of like people who are considered atheistic in the popular culture talk about all the time, which is that like the idea that a god who would like essentially torture his subjects is not really a god who's worth respecting or like loving. You know what I mean? Like it would be hard to love a god that tortured you or did something horrible and unforgivable to you.
Right. Well, it's like the Job kind of story, you know, like what does Job think of God, you know, and you know, if God steals your family and
if God just does everything bad to you.
Yeah.
Or honestly, even like the what was it? The Abraham and Isaac
yes
story
right.
is like if God asks you to like slaughter your child on the mountaintop.
Right.
But
Yeah. But you know the movie's great because it's got David Duchovny and it's got
just David Duchovny's in it.
yeah he plays the
It's been a
husband.
long time since I've seen The Rapture.
Yeah, it's got Mimi Rogers and she's married to David Duchovny in the movie.
Mimi Rogers and
Yeah.
David Duchovny.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I have to watch it again. It's been a super long time. But the long and short of The Rapture is it's a movie basically about somebody who becomes very religious and has a child. And it's about their experience involving the biblical rapture.
Right. And it treats the biblical rapture kind of like in the same, you know, it's almost, it's like treated as a real, like it's not treated in any kind of, you know, I don't know, glorified way.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very harsh, you know.
It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny because I actually, you know, before we started doing this podcast, I separated all these movies that we were going to talk about into sections on my computer, and I thought it would be good to discuss them in sections because it would help us organize them. But the more we talk about the Rapture, the more I just kind of want to link it with other movies that are directly about the rapture, because the one that like now I feel like the talking about the rapture leads right into talking about the end.
Oh yeah.
Because
yeah,
the
yeah.
end is literally also about the rapture.
Yeah.
But it's like a goofy comedy
Right.
instead of a super serious dramatic
Yeah,
movie.
it's goofy, but it's also very dark.
It's
you
dark.
know?
It's a dark comedy.
It's a comedy.
It's a dark comedy,
yeah.
but it's also a very over the top comedy.
Yes.
I mean, think like Evil Dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it has very serious, grim elements, but
Right.
it is also very goofy.
Yeah, no, I love that movie.
And honestly, those movies would be a very weird double feature.
Yeah, yeah. I think it'd be a good double feature though because they're both great movies. And
I know. I'm just saying one is totally serious,
Yeah.
and the other one is like not.
Yeah.
Like, so you know what I mean?
No, you're
Those
right.
movies couldn't be more different interpretations of the rapture.
Yeah,
But at the same time, they have so much in common.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
They're both about, but also, I mean, there is a fundamental difference, which is that in the rapture, you know, the whole thing is about like, can you love God
Right.
after he does this to you? Whereas in the end, it's sort of like if you get to go to heaven, that's just it. Like
Right.
you just go. Like, you know what I mean? There's not really, you know, like I don't know how I feel about God after this.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
No, well, and yeah, because in the Rapture, God is this kind of very uncompromising Old Testament God, and the expectations of that God are the expectations of the God in the Old Testament, where there's no compromise.
Yeah.
Whereas, and it doesn't matter about being nice. Whereas in the end, being nice is kind of what determines whether you get raptured.
Yeah, the God in the end is not really a religious God. He's or like a religious depiction of God, at least as far as like you said the Old Testament goes.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't really follow any religious rules. He just decides whether or not you get to go to heaven based on how good of a person you are.
Yes, which is
So-
kind of the God that we would prefer.
Yeah, it's the moral
obviously.
God.
Yeah,
It's the God of morality.
it's the nice God, the God you would think is, a sane, reasonable God.
Yeah.
He's not letting anybody who's just an obnoxious jerk go to heaven.
Yeah.
Just because they, adhere
But
to
then,
the.
I mean, what we're talking about then also is it gets into the whole thing of like, what is God responsible for? Because like a lot of people will say stuff like, God lets, he's killing children all the time. And it's like, is God killing children, or does God give man free will and man lets that happen?
Right. And I think that that's obviously one of the age-old questions.
Yeah.
And that's the question that the movie The Rapture, raises, is like, that the death of children, what's the significance of it in the bigger picture of the cosmic, rapture?
If I had to theorize about God, I would say that God is sort of the nature of the universe. It's just about choices and consequences and coincidence. Which is to say, God just sort of embodies the choices we make.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but regardless, we're not here to talk about our religious beliefs.
Right.
We're here to talk about religious movies. And
Yes.
The End, if you haven't seen it, is a delightful comedy. I forget who directed it. Maybe, did Seth Rogen direct it?
I don't know.
Anyway, well, regardless, it doesn't matter. The point is,
Yeah.
it has a lot of famous people in Hollywood playing themselves, essentially. And it's about what happens to them when the biblical rapture comes.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Michael Cera in a previous podcast.
Oh, yeah.
He's in it.
He's fabulous
Yeah,
in
and
it.
he's great in it.
You know what's funny? I just realized a kind of an amusing coincidence. I've been rewatching the movie Juno with Gwen, and Michael Cera is a huge character in that movie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because he's the guy that
I remember
gets
he
Juno
gets her pregnant.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
I was just like, I love Michael Cera.
Yeah.
He's good in like everything he does.
He is. He's
like,
fun.
Like that weird movie Crystal Fairy and the
Yeah.
magical cactus or whatever.
Yeah.
Friggin' obviously Scott Pilgrim versus the World, one of the all-time greats of that kind of movie.
Yeah. And what was that movie where he basically decided to be like he decided to be not a nice guy?
Youth in Revolt.
yeah,
which
Youth
is
in
based
Revolt.
on like a French movie or
Yeah,
something.
but I like that movie.
Yeah.
He's good in that.
Yeah, he's fabulous. There's no, and he's really one of the standout, even though he's not like a major character in the end, because he gets killed pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
But his part in the end is one of the most memorable, funny parts of the movie.
Yeah, it is.
Because the character is the caricature he plays of himself.
Yeah.
Is very funny.
Yeah, and in fact, everybody in that movie is kind of being a character
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're all playing themselves.
Except for Rihanna.
She's not playing Rihanna. She's not
She
playing
is
herself.
playing Rihanna, but she doesn't.
Oh, she doesn't parody
I don't
herself.
think I don't think she's capable of playing like a goofy version of herself.
Okay.
She just kind of plays herself.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like all that happens with her is like, there's like a scene where like Craig says something inappropriate to her, and she basically tells him to fuck off. Like it's like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not really. But I don't want to like, say that doesn't mean it's not fun to have her in there too. It's weird to have Rihanna be in there mixed in with like all those comedians.
Yeah, I don't really remember her in the movie, to be honest with you.
She's in there, which implies to me that Seth Rogen knows her or somebody in that crack cast knows her.
Yeah, maybe.
Because how else would they have, gotten her agent to get her a bit part?
Yeah. Well, I heard that the woman who plays Hermione is in the movie.
Yeah, Emma Watson.
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson has a much bigger part because she's at the beginning, and then she like breaks into their house with an axe during the rapture.
Yeah.
And then there's like this joke about like where they're like talking about how they can make her feel comfortable because she's the only woman, and they don't want to like make her feel like she's gonna get like assaulted or something. But she hears the wrong part of their conversation, and she thinks they're gonna like attack her.
Right.
So she like holds them up and steals all their supplies.
Yeah.
But regardless, very funny movie.
Yeah.
Definitely like very different from The Rapture, but both very good movies, both worth a look-see.
Yeah.
I would say The End is probably accessible for anybody that has a sense of humor,
Sure.
even like religious people to some extent.
Right.
But-
Although again, I think that actual believers in the rapture might be offended by
yeah.
the general.
No, well, once again, if you were staunchly conservatively religious or newly staunchly religious, or you believe in the rapture, or you believe in anything along those lines, yes, things like that might be offensive to you.
Right.
My point is, I get the impression that no matter what, the end might be less offensive to people than the rapture, just because the end is not a serious movie.
Maybe.
So I think, they might see it and be like, oh, they're goofing around.
And forgive
Those
it.
boys are goofing around.
Right.
And it has that guy that Seth Rogen is friends with in it too.
Yeah.
Whose name I can never remember because he has like a really weird name. It's like
Yeah.
something Bearshaw or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I remember that. Oh no, that Jonah Hill says his name at one point.
Yeah.
And like when I first heard it, I was like, "That's his name."
Yeah.
God damn it! I just looked up for the end, and it gave me some sort of weird movie that I've never heard of before called The End.
Yeah, I don't know.
From 2024 with Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, and Michael Shannon. I don't know what that is.
This is not what I'm looking for.
Oh, you know what that is? That's a movie about these people living underground. It's a musical. I actually tried watching that.
Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, that's it.
That's because when Jonah Hill walks up to him, he's like, "Is that Jay Baruchel?" And I was like, "What is his last name? Bearshell?"
Yeah, it's almost like Greatshell.
No, but he's great in it. Obviously he was one of the main characters in the movie. I think because him and Seth Rogen are friends in real life.
Yeah. Well, it's all of the group of friends. It's James Franco. All these guys.
No, I know. I just get the impression that Jay and Seth Rogen are actually like childhood friends. Whereas all these people are friends through their work.
Yeah.
But I think those two were actually friends in real life before like the movie. Anywho, whatever. We've talked about The End too long. But what else can we get into? Oh yeah, we were talking about if we're gonna branch into religious comedies. We were talking about that new movie that came out. I think it already came out. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a movie called Good Fortune with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, playing an
and
angel.
Aziz Ansari. Yeah, and Aziz Ansari. It's like a life switching movie.
Yeah,
it's like Aziz Ansari and Seth Rogen is like a rich tech bro, and Aziz Ansari is like his assistant.
Right,
and they like switch lives. So it's like a parody of like a guardian angel giving you like a chance to experience what the other side experiences moving. But the joke is that when Aziz Ansari switches with him, like it actually does, his life is actually better.
Right.
So that's you know what I mean? Because there's that line from the trailer where Keanu Reeves says to like his boss angel, I thought that if they switched lives, he would see that it wouldn't fix any of his problems. And then the angel's like, well, what happened? And he's like, it seems to have fixed most of his problems.
Right. No, that's a good idea. I haven't seen the movie.
Anyway, I haven't seen it either. I was thinking about watching it when it comes out somewhere streaming. But
but it's funny because wasn't Keanu Reeves in some other movie about angels, and he's like some guy who can, he was in hell.
If this is your way to talk about The Matrix, that's very weird. No, I'm kidding. Constantine.
Yeah. Constantine, yeah.
Yeah, but that was a Marvel movie.
Oh, okay.
Because Constantine is it's either Marvel or DC. He's a comic character.
Okay.
He's like this comic book psychic guy that does like exorcisms and has a relationship with like angels and demons and things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because in like the comic book universes, at least in the Marvel universe, like hell is real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like all the demons and the devil and all that stuff is real.
Well, and also there's all the Hellboy movies.
Yeah.
That sort of
That's
thing.
actually a funny point. That's sort of vaguely religious themed.
Yeah.
But that's more like religious themed in the way that like Indiana Jones is religious themed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas it's like religion is sort of the trappings of the movie, but it's not really a religious movie.
No, right.
Like it's more like stylized.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I think about like stylized demons being used as just kind of entertainment, I think actually one of my earliest memories of that is I used to read a lot of those like Gold Key comics when I was a kid, like Scrooge McDuck and Little Lulu and stuff like that. And one of my and Casper the Friendly Ghost. And one of my favorites was Hot Stuff, which is like this little demon, this little like red horn
naked demon with little Neiman butt cheeks.
Yeah, who would have like adventures. And as a kid, I never thought that was weird, but like as an adult, I think it's kind of weird.
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
But in like a fun way.
Yeah, but I guess Casper is weird too. This ghost of this dead kid going around having adventures is kind of weird.
Yeah. But that was back when entertainment used to, endeavor to be interesting and challenging and not just like, likable.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and people were more interested in doing something because it had a stylistic interest. Like Casper and Hot Stuff. They had this kind of interest, like when
Yeah.
the art was interesting.
It kind of makes me, for some reason, it makes me think of R. Crumb, because
Yeah.
I think like a lot of his work was sort of inspired by that kind of art.
Yeah.
Not necessarily by Casper or Hot Stuff directly, but I mean like by the kind of cartoonists and animators who like kind of did stuff that was a little bit risque.
Right.
And of course Crumb, jokingly pushes a lot of that stuff to its most extreme because he thinks it's funny.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
It's not though. He's disgusting. I'm kidding.
No, I think he was probably inspired by some of that stuff, just like I was, you know.
No, absolutely.
And I know that the things like that became huge, iconic things like tattoos. Like people would get, and to this day, get tattoos of those
I'm
things.
sure if you looked up Casper tattoos, I'm sure there's a ton.
Yeah.
Although unfortunately, there's probably a lot more now of the Casper from that movie that came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the CGI.
Just because, a lot of millennials saw that movie as a kid. Mm-hmm. I saw that movie as a kid. And I honestly, weirdly, I have some nostalgia for it. Because
really?
I saw it when I was a small child. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm petting the cat, by the way, which is why I'm leaning over like this.
Because it has a sense of like, I don't know, spooky adventurousness.
Yeah.
There are certain movies I saw as a kid, especially Halloween-related movies, that sort of hold a special place in my heart, just because I really like, the sort of nostalgic elements of Halloween.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with like Hocus Pocus and stuff. Like it's like there are just certain things that they have that sort of like I'm going to a friend's Halloween party vibe.
No, absolutely. And in fact, I probably would have felt the same way if I had been a child when these things you're talking about had come out. But for me, because these things didn't exist, my recollections and my affections are obviously for the comic books. And also even for like I was saying, Davy and Goliath.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to watch that show as a child, and I enjoyed it.
Speaking of Davy and Goliath, this is not religious, but for some reason it made me think of it because you said Davy and Goliath. I was thinking, I recently watched the opening to Gigantor.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is something I had never seen before, but you've talked about Gigantor a lot, and
Yeah.
I watched it and I was like. It was actually better than I was anticipating it being.
Good.
Because I was expecting it to be very
You've become a Gigantor fan.
I don't know what I was expecting, but it had sort of Atom Boy vibes.
Yeah, kind of.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
early anime kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like it didn't fit what I was expecting, but it wasn't terrible.
Oh, good.
It was cheap.
Yeah,
but
it's very
wasn't-
cheap.
But it wasn't as cheap as I was expecting. Like it wasn't like those cartoons where they have like the cartoon character's face and then they like superimpose moving lips over it.
Right, yeah.
Like
yeah,
that kind of
No,
thing?
you're right. But see, now if you like that one, you should definitely check out Kimba the White Lion if you can get your hands on it.
The White Lion. I've
Yeah.
seen Kimbo the White Lion.
Okay, but there's another one called Amazing 3 that was on TV when I was a little kid. And it's about these three animals that are kind of traveling across the country in this big wheel,
Yeah.
and having adventures. And then there's another one called, I think it's called Ocean Boy or something like that. But this kid lives under the ocean and he can breathe because he chews this stuff called oxygum
Yeah.
that gives him air. So
Well, before we get too off topic,
sorry. I love all these things.
No, it's okay. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm not trying to cut you off.
No,
I
know.
just had another thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Which is because we were talking about the cartoons with the moving, because they used to. I don't know what era of cartoons this is, but there are cartoons that exist where it's basically like a drawn character that has had a human mouth superimposed over it, and that shows up. That style shows up in the movie The Forbidden Zone, which I just watched, which is a movie made by Danny Elfman's brother.
Okay.
Which is kind of like it's kind of one of those like music video movies.
Yeah.
And it has a scene where it's not a cartoon character, but it's somebody who has a mouth superimposed over their face. And it was my favorite scene in the movie because the whole movie it's kind of like think The Wall or something.
Okay.
It's like the whole movie is sort of a music video,
Okay.
but it's a very off the wall music video because Danny Elfman.
Right.
And his brother is even more unhinged than he is.
Okay.
And in the movie, Danny Elfman plays the devil. So it actually kind of ties into our religious theme.
Okay.
He there's a scene with
And
the
it's
devil.
called the Forbidden Zone.
The Forbidden Zone.
Okay.
And you should. It's free on YouTube. You should check it out. It's
I will.
very weird.
I'll look at
I've
it.
never heard of this movie before.
I've never heard of it.
But this is like part of why it like. This is just part of the whole thing. Like basically, Oingo Boingo did the music for this movie.
Okay.
So if you can imagine an entire movie that is essentially an Oingo Boingo music video,
Okay.
that's sort of what this is like.
Well,
Except it's like it was very cheaply made. Like the budget was like less than $100,000.
Okay.
So it's all plywood sets and cardboard sets and stuff, but it's
Right.
like really creative despite that.
Okay. Well, you talking about them incorporating the superimposed, mouth over the animated face.
Yeah.
That's actually used. There's a scene of that in Pulp Fiction. The scene,
Yes.
yeah, the scene where the kid gets talked to by Christopher Walken when Christopher Walken makes
He's
that big
watching
monologue.
a cartoon like that.
Yeah, about this Eskimo boy, and it's that animation style.
Inuit?
Yeah, Inuit. Yes, although I'm sure back then they just
No,
said
I
Eskimo.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, and so obviously that was a show. I actually sort of remember it. It's funny because when I was a kid, there was a show.
Speaking of, for the record, by the way, he's talking about the scene in Pulp Fiction where Christopher Walken is talking about keeping a watch of his butt.
Yeah.
That this kid's dead dad
Yeah.
had and passed on to him, and then while they were in the military, and then he gives it to the kid to hold on to, and the kid grows up to be Bruce Willis.
Right, but before all that happens, all that discussion, but before Christopher Walken says all this, the kid is watching a TV show, which is that show of the
Cartoon of
the
an
cartoon.
Eskimo with a superimposed mouth.
Yeah, which is kind of grotesque and weird. But there was, it's funny because I'm just reminded when I was a kid, there was an animated show that was interactive. And the way it was interactive is you had to go out and buy this sort of kit that included like a sticky plastic sheet and a grease pencil.
Yeah.
And the show would have, like, it would have to be the adventures of some character. And the character would, for instance, fall out of an airplane. And then he would freeze in midair. And they would say, draw a parachute to save, this character. And so you would put your plastic sheet over the screen and you would draw the parachute, and then the character would magically float to Earth or whatever, So you felt like you were participating in the show.
A fun way to do that.
Yeah. I've not
Of course,
thought of that.
now with modern technology.
Yeah. I haven't thought of that in 60 years or something. That's crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's always interesting the way people in the past tried to make technology immersive without additional technology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically paper and pencil is technology, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Like using more analog technology.
Yeah.
Because obviously now with computers and stuff, literally anything can be any level of interactive.
Right.
But that sort of takes the ingenuity out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's like if you can just make if you can make an episode of Dora the Explorer where kids can choose their own adventure or whatever, it's like there's no real creativity in that.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, well, here's this thing we made on a computer.
Right. Yeah.
And Gwen and I have been talking about that more, by the way, which I want to talk about with you later.
Okay.
Trying to limit technology in our lives.
Yeah. Well, I was just reading a big article about it.
Anyway, but regardless, we should talk about some more of these movies. We sort of got off topic there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I think a good off topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did want to. I'm glad I remembered the Forbidden Zone because I did want to bring that up. It's a very, very Danny Elfman coded, but very kind of bizarre, super independent film. I don't know why it was made. Maybe it was just made because Danny Elfman wanted to have a project to do with his brother.
Yeah, that's probably all it is.
I really don't know, but it's a weird movie. I highly recommend people take a look at it. It does have some nudity in it, so if you're disturbed by female nudity, I would not watch it.
Okay.
But yeah, Danny Elfman plays the devil. It's the role he was born to play.
Okay.
No, because that's his thing. He always makes those faces, like when he was younger, especially.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched an Oingo Boingo music video?
I'm not sure I have.
Yeah, he makes those Danny Elfman faces where he's like,
Okay.
that's why. You know his whole vibe.
Yeah,
Beetlejuice, The Nightmare Before
No,
Christmas.
believe
Come
me,
on.
I understand his genre.
He likes like being like a weird creep.
Yes.
Anyway, I wonder if him and John Waters would get along. Anyway, not the point. The point is other movies to discuss. We did discuss Good Fortune. We discussed The End. I did want to mention, and we don't have to have a long talk about it, but the Monty Python religious comedies of Holy Grail and The Life of Brian.
Yeah, I don't think Holy Grail is religious though.
No, but
Is
it's
it?
about the quest for the Holy Grail.
Oh, I guess you could say that's. Yeah, you're right. That is
I mean, it's a
religious.
medieval movie,
Yeah,
but it's about people who are theoretically religious.
Yeah.
It's about people who are Catholic, right? And who are searching for the Grail.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
King Arthur was religious.
Yeah. I think saying Catholic in these contexts though is like not necessary. You can just say Christian.
Okay, well, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
point is, these are medieval guys on a holy quest.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a religion. It's not the way that because the Life of Brian is literally a parody of like I cannot say things like literally. I hate doing that. Is a parody of religious epic movies.
Yes. Absolutely.
And religious epic tales.
Yes.
But the Holy Grail is not necessarily a parody of religious epics. It's more of a parody of like
Medieval.
the King Arthur epic,
it's
like
knights.
medieval
Yeah.
epics.
Yeah.
But they are questing for the Grail.
Yes.
So you could say, and God does appear and speak to them in the movie.
Right.
So it has religious themes for sure.
Right.
And the reason I bring it up is just because that was their first thing that had anything tied to religion, other than like, obviously the skits they had about religion in like in their show.
In the show, right.
Or like obviously there's also religious skits in The Meaning of Life.
Right.
But I think The Meaning of Life came after Holy Grail anyway.
Yes, it did.
So that's, whatever.
Yeah.
Life of Brian is the quintessential religious parody of maybe all time.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a parody of these religious epic movies, which we're also going to bring up, like things like the Ten Commandments, things like Ben-Hur, right?
Right.
It is, it has all. If you are somebody who has seen religious epics growing up, or who has like been, even in Sunday school and told like a lot of like religious stories, things like that, like this movie is the parody of all that stuff.
Right.
It's I don't know what else to say about it. It's the thing you should watch if you like comedy and if you're familiar with religious like iconography in films.
Right. Yeah. No. And I remember I was watching a talk show appearance by two of the Pythons. I think it was John Cleese and Michael Palin. Were talking about Life of Brian with some religious vicar or something on some British talk show. And the religious guy was talking about how, it's not good to do offensive, to basically insult, Christ and all that. And they were actually countering that, that the movie doesn't insult Christ at all. I mean, Christ appears at a distance
he's
in the movie.
Vague... He's more of a suggestion of a character.
Yeah, but he doesn't say anything silly or funny. He's basically reading the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, he's being Christ.
He's being Christ, and what's funny is the foolish reaction.
It's the commentary.
Of the people watching.
No, the whole thing is a commentary of religion. It's not a parody of religion.
Yeah.
It's a parody of commentary of religion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's parodying things that have already commentaried on religion.
Yes.
That's
exactly.
that's the whole point. If anything, it's like already twice removed. It's not saying anything directly about religion.
Right. I don't. And anyway,
that's kind of the whole point, kind of the whole joke of the movie.
Yeah.
Is that it's about a character named Brian.
Yeah. It's not about Jesus.
Yeah, it's not about Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree. I've never understood why anyone would get offended by that movie, and hopefully they don't for the most part.
We've discussed this. People who are determined to be offended will be offended.
Yes.
And either way, like, the movie is not inherently offensive, but I could see how some people might think of it as disrespectful. Mm-hmm. Regardless, it's just a silly movie about history and about like the way people perceive religion.
Yes.
That's really what it's about.
Yeah.
Honestly, I consider it like way less potentially offensive than like some of the stuff from The Meaning of Life. Some of the stuff from The Meaning of Life is way more potentially religiously offensive than anything in The Life of Brian.
Yeah.
Because in The Meaning of Life, they have that, the song about God created everything disgusting, just like he created everything good.
Right.
And they have every sperm is sacred, which is like an inherently offensive song.
Right. Although, again, I personally have never, I mean, I'm not religious.
Okay,
so
but
of
you
course
get-
I'm not offended by
But
any
you
of that.
understand what I'm saying. Those are more potentially, they could be seen as more inflammatory than anything in The Life of Brian.
Right. Absolutely. I
Because
agree.
The Life of Brian is more like a historical parody than a religious parody.
Yeah, but to my way of thinking, I feel that if you're just raising natural questions about religious beliefs,
Yeah.
there's nothing offensive. Like, for instance, the every sperm is sacred song or whatever.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what the Catholics believe.
Yeah.
And so to say that that's offensive is, to kind of suggest that there's something wrong with even addressing the issue.
No, I know, but like
But I know what you're saying.
that what I'm saying is Catholics believe that stuff, but that's not something they would like overtly say.
Right.
And they think like talking like that in and of itself is offensive.
Yes.
So
and to
it's
make light of it. And
Not
so
Catholics,
forth.
but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people who have that as a religious belief. The
Yes.
belief that you shouldn't spill your seed or whatever.
Right, but they are specifically talking about Catholics in that song.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of religions where you're not supposed to like
No, of course.
where you're supposed to only use sexual stuff for procreation.
Sure, absolutely.
Anyway, regardless, it's a fabulous movie.
Yeah.
It's a very funny movie. I think anybody with a good sense of humor would appreciate it.
You talking about Life of Brian?
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I also like
I also like The Meaning of Life. Yeah, exactly.
My favorite scene from The Meaning of Life, though, is not one of the religious parodies. My favorite scene from The Meaning of Life is, and by the way, those guys parody religious culture because they grew up in it.
Yes.
Because they went to Catholic schools, because they went to churches. Like it's more of a commentary on life. It's not really a commentary on religion.
Absolutely.
But my favorite scene is the like the prep school teacher teaching sex ed.
Yeah, right.
And like having sex with that woman with his wife in front of the class.
Yeah.
And none of them are like, they're
And
all
the
just,
kids are all bored.
Yeah, they're just bored and acting like it's like a normal prep school lesson.
Right.
Like, what is that? It's an ocarina, sir. Give it here.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I love all that.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure what most people remember from that movie is the fat guy exploding at the
Yeah,
beginning.
of course.
But yeah, Life of Brian, fabulous. I recently started rewatching it again, and I need to watch it all the way through because there's just it's been so long since I've seen it. I'm actually starting to find it funny again.
Oh, cool.
Because obviously you burn yourself out on movies. I saw The
Yeah.
Life of Brian so many times when I was young, I got tired of it.
Uh-huh.
But it's been so many years since I've seen it. I think I'm finding it funny again.
That's cool.
So I feel like it's a perfect time to rewatch it.
It's funny you say that, but I've just restarted watching The Orville, and I'm enjoying that again.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, everyone's favorite stories in that show were involving Bortus.
Yeah, right.
You
Exactly.
know what's really funny about that though? The guy that plays Bortus was I recently watched the season 2 of the Ted TV show that they released.
Yeah.
And Ted is those movies with the
Yeah, the
CGI
dare-
teddy
the
bear,
bear,
played by
yeah.
Seth MacFarlane. It's basically like live action Family Guy kind of.
Right.
But that actor appears in season 2 of the show.
Oh, okay.
But as a human,
himself,
not
right.
as Bortus.
Yeah.
And he's playing like a detective because what happens is, the guy who's played by Marky Mark in the movies
Yes.
is like a kid in the
Okay.
show. And obviously it's a different actor. But
Right.
that'd be weird though if Marky Mark was playing like a teenage version of himself.
Yeah.
But it's a kid actor. And there's an episode where he and Ted make calls to a sex line from a school phone in the basement of the school.
Okay.
And rack up like a $5,000 phone bill for the school. And this detective shows up to like seek out who the evil kids are that have done these like masturbatory calls.
Right.
And it's played by the guy that
Like
plays
the Bortus guy.
And he's very
Okay.
serious and intimidating the way that like Bortus kind of is,
Right. That's
He's like,
funny.
I will find the masturbator. like it's very, it's great.
Yeah, I should probably check it out.
But yeah, the Orville's great. I see clips of that episode where Bortus and his partner start smoking cigarettes.
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah, that's a funny episode. The chain smoking.
I was curious to taste it.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been standing my whole life and I just sat down. But to jump off of that comedic train, to jump off and have our necks broken falling from the train of comedy, we can discuss some much more serious movies. Well, first, honorable mentions. We wanted to bring up the fact that there are a number of horror movies that involve religion but are not inherently like about religion or about God. They more just... Better not be my car.
I know.
No, it's not. They more just like, use the devil or demons as like a horror plot element.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to discuss The Omen and The Exorcist, or bring those up.
Yeah, and those are great movies. I mean, obviously, the religious aspect of them is important to the movie, but it wasn't necessarily...
It's more like just the idea of malevolent evil that has like power over mankind.
Yeah.
I mean, there's religious symbolism, but I wouldn't necessarily say, and it, like, for example, I'm thinking about like The Exorcist, right? There's like that incredibly shocking, iconic scene in The Exorcist where Reagan like stabs herself in the crotch with a crucifix.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there's a crucifix in that scene, but I don't get the impression that the demon is thinking like, oh man, this is about God. They'll love this.
Right.
I think it's just more like shocking. It's meant to be. I think the demon just wants to shock and upset everybody.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I'm thinking about these movies, not just The Exorcist, but The Omen, and all these movies
Legion.
that have this sort of, they all have this sort of demonic, evil concept, and they,
demons and the devil are oftentimes used as a crutch in horror.
Absolutely, but it's funny because the visual representation of the evil is surrounded by all this Catholic like architecture, like the architecture of churches and statues of saints and things like all these things are portrayed as being creepy. And what's funny about that to me is that as a child, I found those things creepy. Even before I saw any of these movies, I thought there was some, like, I remember when I was in grade school, Wesley, I remember when I was in grade school, me and my friends used to go through this churchyard on the way home, and the churchyard had all these statues of saints. And we used to like imagine that these saints would move when we just saw them out of the corner of our eyes. And so we started like pretending to pray to these saints, because we even though like I wasn't religious, certainly wasn't Catholic.
But that is by design. I mean, like, maybe not like immediate design, but design over thousands of years. I mean, the intention of religion is to some extent, it's about control, and it's easier to control people when they're afraid. And religion is intimidating and frightening sometimes intentionally to scare people into following it. Because like, if you feel like the only answer is to like, to be saved from these like magical scary threats, or to be, you know what I mean? Like, you go to church in this building where like everything is like, if you're talking about like a medieval church or a Gothic church, like it's like these giant columns and these giant windows with like faces staring down at you. Like, it's all meant to be very intense and intimidating and like inspire intense states in your psyche. So like some of it is to scare, some of it is to like bring you into like a state that is outside of yourself. Right.
It's like awe. They want you to be in awe.
Exactly. So like in that way it's by design. And that's why religious art has become such a big part of our culture.
Sure. I'm just saying that I think that it's interesting that these horror movie makers have thought about this to the degree that they realize that just that setting can be a source of horror. You know what I mean? Like, if you just have people going into a church, that could be creepy.
That's alarming enough.
Which is a very strange thought to me because
but
these
it's also
movies,
just because of the thousands of years of like,
plus you've got the organ music, and everything. There's something inherently, and the choir.
But it's also because of like the thousands of years of like imagery and to say the same word again, like iconography and like stuff that's been built into our culture and
Right.
is around us all the time and influences our subconscious mind all the time.
Right.
So as a result, these things are going to have an effect on people because it's such a big part of our life.
Right, but see, this again goes back to what it raises a question that we were talking about earlier, and that I don't know the answer to, which is that do religious people think differently about these things than I do? For instance, I get the creepiness of the whole church setting and the music,
and I think depending on the religious person, some of them do too.
Okay, but it seems to me like
depends.
why would you want to go to church if it was a creepy place?
Well, it's not for the most part for most religious people.
Yeah.
I'm saying is like there are religious people who maybe are not like 100%, 1,000,000% on board with the religious ideas, or there are religious people who go to church because they're afraid of the potential. Like, there's always that thing where people will say like, I just want to be religious just in case. And it's like, which by the way is such a goofy ass argument.
I find
because
that
there's
strange.
so many religions. What are you going to join all of them?
Yeah.
Just in case, you know what I mean? Anyway,
Right.
regardless of that, there's those people who I think maybe are afraid of it, but then there are a lot of people who have just been, raised in church as like part of their like community, so like they have like a community built around it, and that goes back to I was going to mention A River Runs Through It earlier, because the author who wrote A River Runs Through It, his father was a priest.
Okay.
Was a preacher.
Yeah, right. I remember that.
And
Played by Scarrett, Tom Scarrett.
Yeah, Tom Scarrett. And if we're talking about something like that, then it's like a family thing. It's
Right.
like you grew up in church, it's your family,
Right.
you know? But there's also people who I think have like religious rapture around church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who like, for them it's like meditation is for like Eastern religions. You know,
Right.
like they go to church, they pray, they feel a real catharsis around it.
Right. But again, the movies, specifically, are trying to generate a feeling of dread.
Yeah,
And-
but I think that's for people like us.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like hardcore religious people watching The Exorcist going like oh.
Yeah, see, that's my question, though. Like, I'm thinking about it in particular. I really like the first Exorcist movie, obviously, but I also really like the third movie, Exorcist 3. That has George C. Scott in it.
That's the second Exorcist. We can ignore the real second Exorcist.
Yeah, I get that, but it is called Exorcist 3.
It's called Legion.
And there's a scene in that where basically the character of, I don't know, the two of the priests are meeting in a church office, and it's late in the day, and the building is empty, and the clock is ticking, and just being in that office is creepy. You know what I mean? Like, nothing's happening. These guys are just sitting there.
Yeah, but
there's
that's
something
also because
creepy
that entire
about it.
movie is designed around building suspense.
Yeah.
And so is the book.
Oh, of course, but I'm just saying the source of the suspense is the architecture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That the movie knows, and must be William Peter Blatty, because I think he directed it. I know he wrote it. And he's religious, okay? He's a Catholic, but he knows there's something creepy.
I don't necessarily think he knows there's something creepy. I think what he knows is that the environment is affecting.
Yeah.
I think he knows it has an emotional impact. That's what
Right.
he knows. I don't think he necessarily is thinking like this room is creepy. I think he's thinking this room is suspenseful. This room has a feeling to it.
Yeah.
You know, and also William Peter Blatty is a nutcase. Did you see that documentary where he's like trying to find the real devil and stuff? Like,
Yeah.
But
But nutcase or not, he's a good filmmaker.
yeah,
You know.
I know. I'm just
mean,
saying. I don't think you have to be like somebody who inherently is that insightful to understand that that imagery done in a certain way is impactful.
Right.
Whether or not it's terrifying to everyone, I don't know. What I know is that it creates a feeling for everyone.
It does, but I guess my question is, if you're religious, does the feeling that architecture is infused with goodness and God overshadow the fact that it also may imply the devil?
I don't think
You
so,
know,
because
and
I feel
evil.
like everybody feels suspense. So I feel like even if you are a religious person, if you're seeing that imagery in a certain context, it's still going to feel suspenseful.
Yeah, I
You know, if
guess.
those people go to church, they're not going to feel suspenseful. But if it's in a movie where something is shot really slow and has ominous music, yeah.
Well, and also I'm thinking if you're in a crowded church on Sunday and everybody's singing and everything, obviously you feel safe because you're in a crowd of people.
Everybody bringing macaroni salad.
Yeah, but if you go into that same church on a quiet rainy day and you're sitting all alone in the pews, and it's echoey and it's quiet, maybe there's an inherent creepiness that just comes from being alone in a big building.
Once again, we're getting into, that's like liminal spaces though.
Yeah,
that's like the idea that like no matter where you are, if it's like, if there's a certain vibe, it's going to feel weird.
Right.
So like, yeah, if you're alone in a church and there's like weird weather or something and you're in a weird mood, even if you're like a staunchly religious, it's going to feel weird.
Right. But I'm just saying there's something about that environment. You've got all the burning candles.
I still think you're reading too much into it because of who you are.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it has an eeriness, but I don't think it's any eerier than like, things we might consider normal spaces that also could be.
No,
eerie.
you're right. And you mentioning liminal spaces is actually, I think, useful because I was just watching one of those videos, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and it took place in like a deserted supermarket. And it was like one of those liminal space things. And there was like some kind of evil monster coming through this supermarket. And it was creepy, just the idea of being alone in a supermarket.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like because I feel no different if I go somewhere, like if I go to a warehouse and there's nobody there, than I do if I go to like a big Gothic church and there's nobody there. It's the same feeling.
Right.
So it's just that feeling of like being alone in this man-made space where normally there would be a lot of people is a weird feeling.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as like a dark alley at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It's just... Yeah, it's just that eeriness.
Yeah, it's just funny that there's a whole genre of horror films that utilize that particular space.
Yeah. Well, and also as far as, but as far as like liminal spaces in general go, that's become much more popular in the horror genre.
Yeah. Well, we were just watching that. What was that one that was based on the clown It? There was the TV series based on It. And there was actually a supermarket scene in that was actually very creepy. Did you watch that series?
It's weird that you bring... No, I didn't watch all of it. But
Okay.
It's weird that you bring up supermarkets because I know there's like that weird... I don't know if it's in Vegas. There's some attraction that's like a fake supermarket and there's like lore behind it and everything.
Okay.
But it's basically like, psychological, like crazy interpretive stuff.
Right.
So I do think that you're definitely onto something there with the supermarkets thing. But I think things like you're talking about, things that are common experiences for people, like religion, like churches, like supermarkets, all of that stuff is hand in hand.
Yeah.
And people just chose religion because religion is inherently more creepy just by the nature of what it's implying.
Right.
Because it's implying this magical presence that's making decisions about your life without your consent.
Right.
And it's something that's very impactful to children, especially.
Yeah.
When you're a child, if you go to church or if you're made to go to church by your parents and you have like that whole religious upbringing, that can be something that sits with you very deeply.
Right.
And I think that's why that it has been a major topic for horror movies, because I think there's a lot of people who grew up with that fear built into them, like Jesus is watching you and the devil is watching you, and
right.
like that they had that nervous tension around church.
Right. You've just made me think about, because we were talking about angels, movies with angels like Michael, and did we mention Michael?
We mentioned Battlefield Earth, but Michael is another movie that I almost said Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Oh no, but you were mentioning.
What's his name? Saturday Night Fever.
Oh yeah, John Travolta.
John Travolta.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a movie he's in where he plays a fallen archangel named Michael.
Right. Yeah, and but you were also talking about that what was it, Good Fortune or something?
Oh, that new comedy with Aziz Ansari.
Yeah. But it actually made me think of one that I actually liked from a while back. It was this Wim Wenders movie called Wings of Desire. And it's basically about these angels kind of watching everybody in Berlin.
Yeah.
And they're standing on top of this high statue. And they're basically watching all these little stories play out.
Yeah.
And occasionally involving themselves in the stories.
Sounds very interpretive.
Yeah, it's in black and white. It's really a nice movie. It's kind of slowly paced, but I like it.
What's funny about that is for some reason that reminds me, I know we talked about like talking about the fact that I'm not a huge fan of the movie Dogma, but the movie Dogma made by Kevin Smith is kind of along the same lines. It's not black and white, but it's about two angels sort of having an adventure and observing a lot of different stuff going on.
I wonder if he was inspired by Wings of Desire. Kevin Smith, I mean, that's interesting.
Maybe, but
Could
Dogma's very different from what you're describing.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, he would make it more raunchy and
it's super
crazy.
Just raunchy and like butt humor.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I don't.
It's Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I never actually. I don't think I ever saw that movie. But yeah, I mean, I do. I'm interested in those themes, obviously.
Yeah. Well, that's why you bringing up Wings of Desire made me want to try and think about Ingmar Bergman, and if there was like any religious themes in their movies. And I mean,
sure.
kind of the Seventh Seal has some religious themes. It's more like life and death themes.
Yeah. I mean, that's his big movie about death. Obviously, the guy playing chess, the knight playing chess with death.
Yeah. We are running low on time here, though. So before we end the podcast, because we spent a long time talking about why religion is creepy for horror movies.
I know. I'm sorry.
But I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the more serious movies. Actually, technically, the only ones left on our list that are serious. We did vaguely mention the classic religious epics like the Ten Commandments and Ben-Hur. Definitely worth watching.
Oh yeah.
I know they remade Ben-Hur. Don't watch the remake.
No, the original, the Charlton Heston one.
Yeah, the one with Charlton Heston is a really good classic epic religious-esque movie.
Yep.
Ten Commandments, obviously.
Yeah, really, Charlton Heston.
But I think people are more familiar with Ten Commandments than Ben-Hur.
Yes. Although they shouldn't be, because Ben-Hur is one of those. It's a movie I consider one of the few perfect movies because it is just a really perfect film. I mean, structurally, it's fantastic. Okay. It's funny. It's got humor. It's got everything.
I was going somewhere with this, but
I'm sorry.
I lost track of what it was.
Well,
no, it wasn't your fault.
Well, you mentioned Dogma, and that was making me think of Dogma 95.
Did you really have to?
Well, I just thought it's kind of funny.
Is it funny though?
I find it funny. Maybe you consider it crappy. I don't know. But Dogma 95. My dad
brought up that pun before we started recording, and
yes,
I was afraid he was going to bring it into the actual podcast.
Well, if you're going to talk about Dogma, you should talk about Dogma 95, which was invented by Lars von Trier and this group of Danish filmmakers, and they decided to make a bunch of movies that had very, very limited production values.
Yeah.
And
is this how we're branching into Breaking the Waves?
Yes, because Breaking the Waves was one of those films, and it's
Breaking the Waves
is
a self-sacrifice for the greater good movie.
Well,
I mean, I don't know about for the greater good.
Yeah.
It's a self-sacrifice for someone else's life.
Yeah, but it's a God movie because
God movie.
The woman is supposedly trying to.
Well, also the characters are Irish.
Yeah, right.
Who is more notable in our culture for being religious than Irish people?
Yeah, are they Irish though?
Yeah.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they're Irish or just English. I don't know. Maybe they're Irish.
I think the main character is Irish.
Is she? Okay. Yeah, it's what's her Emily Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's good.
But then one of the Skarsgårds.
Yeah, plays her husband.
The original Skarsgård.
It's the guy who's the old Skarsgård now.
The Skarsgård OG.
Yes, the one who plays Baron Harkonnen in the new Dune movies.
But he's Danish.
Yeah.
So regardless, I forget what nationality he's playing. But I think the girl is Irish.
Yeah, maybe.
Either way, like Irish Catholic, Protestant, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the movie it's a great movie about sacrifice, and being sort of a martyr for God.
Yeah, because her husband is injured. He works at an oil rig, and he's injured horribly. And she somehow gets this message from God, or imagines that she does, that God will cure her husband if she sacrifices herself. And the way that she does this is basically by prostituting herself.
On a merchant ship.
Well, but before that, it's just anywhere. It's on the bus. It's in any place.
Basically allowing herself to get hurt.
Yeah, to be abused, right? Because she thinks this is the way that she's going to get her husband cured. Yeah.
Eventually, maybe we
shouldn't give it.
away
Yeah,
the
let's
ending.
not give it away.
But the point is, the mystery of the movie is she in the movie she like talks to God.
Yeah.
She like has this relationship with God, and
Right.
the whole movie the question is like, is she crazy or is she actually talking to God?
Right.
And at the end of the movie you kind of find out.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in the mystery, you know, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It has great performances in it. It's fun to watch. It's a little shocking. It's a little disturbing, but it's if you can handle that, I guess, you know, watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really like that movie.
Yeah, God, we could do a whole episode on like the dogma movement.
Oh,
of film,
sure,
because
absolutely.
There's like so many of
yeah,
those.
the Celebration.
Yeah, well,
there's-
even honorable mentions. Like I always bring up like Creep
Yeah.
and Chuck and Buck,
Yeah.
sort of as like possibly examples of a similar kind of filmmaking.
Sure.
But regardless, as before we get too deep into it, the last movie I think we can end this on more of a light note. We can talk about is the movie Oh God,
Oh yeah.
which
oh
is
God.
which is a movie that perhaps there are the individuals out there that may consider it offensive. I don't know. It's a broad dramatic comedy about basically God coming to Earth as a little old man,
Yeah.
and telling a guy that he basically wants him to be his like prophet.
Yeah, well, and it's the weirdest cast ever because George Burns plays God, and John Denver plays the guy who's talking to God, and John Denver, who's not an actor or wasn't until then, actually does a fantastic
great job, yeah.
And his wife is played by Terry Garr, and she's essentially playing the same role that she plays as the wife of the guy in Close Encounters.
Yeah.
She's just skeptical and doesn't want this to be happening.
Yeah, but it is happening.
But it is happening. Yeah, it's a great little movie. I love Oh God, and I would highly recommend
It's also
it.
another movie where like the whole movie is sort of like a question of like what the hell is going on, and then
Yeah.
at the end it's sort of verifiably answered that what is happening.
Right.
But also it's fun. You know, it's a fun movie. There is some dramatic stuff in it, but it also has a lot of great comedy.
Yeah, it's a funny. It's basically a fairly lightweight comedy.
Yeah, there's that line or the avocados. I made the pit too big.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I think the music score is really memorable. Like even now I've got the music score from that movie playing in my head, which is it's a movie.
Sort of like Melvin and Howard if Howard Hughes was God.
Yeah, you're right. That it is a lot like Melvin and Howard. The similar. In fact, I'm surprised Oh God isn't directed by somebody like Hal Ashby or somebody like that.
But Oh God is good. That's another one I haven't seen in a really, really long time, and I need to revisit.
Yeah, I would recommend. I've seen that movie so many times because when I was a kid, I lived in Hollywood for a while, and I used to go to the movies all the time, and I think I probably saw Oh God 10 times or something. So I've more or less memorized the movie, but I
definitely
really
have
like
not.
it.
I remember the major beats from it because I probably watched it a few times with you guys growing up, but like as far as whether or not I actually like really remember it, I don't know.
Yeah,
I remember bits and pieces.
Yeah, I actually wonder how that movie works with modern, like I mean, or even with adults, because I love that movie since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was made in like the mid '70s, so I was probably like 12 or 13 years old, and I mean, the movie just really rang the right note with me, even though I wasn't religious at all.
You didn't watch it, and you weren't like, "Oh God."
That's right.
Oh God.
No, I did it more the Valley Girl way. Oh God.
Oh God.
No, but I did really enjoy that film.
It is a good movie.
Yeah.
Well, normally I end off the podcast with us singing some kind of a little song, so I don't have to edit a song into the end credits.
Okay.
But I don't know if anything fits the bill for what we've been discussing. And like, I don't know any hymns.
Yeah. I was actually trying to. We could probably do a Monty Python song.
I know a very grim song about the Irish Civil War, which is vaguely about religion because that's sort of what the Irish Civil War was about.
Is this from the movie Sinners?
No, I'm talking about the Cranberries song.
Oh.
You know, like Zombie.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. I don't know that.
Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken. That song.
I don't know that.
But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head,
Oh, okay.
they are crying.
Yes.
With their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns in your head, in your head. What's in your head? in your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. Yeah, you've heard that song.
I have, yes.
Everyone's heard that song.
I don't think I've ever listened to the lyrics, though. It's a deeper song than I ever thought. I never realized.
Lead singer of the Cranberries is an Irish person.
Yeah, I always think that the tragedy, of course, is that the lead singer has passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a little too grim to end on, so instead, oh God, I'm
Always
struggling.
look on the bright
There you go, that's
side
good.
of life.
Always look on the light side of life. Life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten, and that's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
No, keep whistling.
I don't know any more lyrics.
Keep going.
I think I've fulfilled my.
You are the harmony in my soul.